Hey crafty people, it's Tasha here, back with another video tutorial for WOW Embossing Powder. Today I'm sharing some foiling basics with our brand new Fab Foil colours. So, our Fab Foil is toner activated, so it's not going to work with a hot foil stamping setup like the Glimmer. But toner isn't the only way to use these gorgeous high quality foils. They'll essentially work with anything sticky. Today's tutorial is all about using Fab Foil with our range of Fab Foilers. These are toner printed, so with a little heat you'll get some gorgeously foiled backgrounds and sentiments. I've got my laminator heating up on my desk here, and I like to prep my foiling whilst it gets to temperature. You could use a laminator or something like a mink machine. First things first, our foil comes wrapped around a card shim, and that means it has got folds in it. But this is not going to affect your foiling at all. The laminator works like an iron, so it flattens the foil as it's rolling through. First up, I'm using Deepest Darkest Crimson, which is one of our brand new foils, and I'm going to use this Distressed Stripes background from our Love and Hugs foiler set. The foilers are wider than our foil. That is so they can easily work for sizings that suit both UK and US markets. You could add two pieces and run them through together if you want to foil the entire panel, but I know that I like to cut my panels down, so this is going to be plenty big enough for what I need. That second colour is Metal Marmalade, which is another of our new foils, and I'm using this Happy Birthday panel from my Sweet Sentiments foiler pack. I like to use a piece of washi tape to secure one end of the foil to the back of the foiler. This is going to help make sure the foil doesn't shift during its roll through the laminator. You always want to put your panel in that side first. Now I'm going to feed my panel and foil into the laminator, and you'll notice that I don't have any kind of shim or cover or pocket. You really don't need it, as long as you have the end of the foil that gets fed into the machine secured. The way that these work is that the laminator or mink machine reheats the toner, which is then pressed to the back of the foil. This combination of heat and pressure bonds the foil permanently to the toner. Then let it cool, and then you can peel away the plastic liner to fully reveal that gorgeous foil. This whole process rests on how well and evenly your panel is heated and pressed. Any kind of paper shim or plastic style pocket, for example, just adds additional distance between your panel and the heat source, and it really is not necessary. Now, you need to be sure that your machine is really hot, or the toner is not going to heat up enough to bond to the foil properly. That's what happened with my first panel. You could see lines of toner still visible, and you could even see foil still on that release sheet. I didn't peel it all the way, and then I let the machine heat up a little bit more. Then I'm just going to run them back through. Sending them back in won't affect the foiling that did bond, and it'll help the toner grab onto what's left. Now, you can run foiled sections through several times without it affecting the shine, but at a certain point some of that shine will dull to a more kind of matte finish. How many times it takes really depends on your machine, but personally I've gone up to 7 times before I noticed a minimal effect starting to appear. When I'm foiling, I like to do a batch of pieces in one go because I don't have this machine out all the time, so I'm making good use of it by prepping a bunch of panels in one go. Peeling back that Deepest Darkest Crimson, and you can see why this beauty is my absolute favourite right now. Oh, this one is so far up my street. That metallic orange looks so blooming good too. These are both new foils, and I'll be using the other newbie a little later in the video too, so stay tuned for that. This swirly pattern is from the Love and Hugs set. I'm going to do a two-tone foiling on this with some pink and turquoise foils. I'm just cutting down a piece of the foils and then tacking down each piece before running it through the laminator. Notice that this time I have it in landscape, because this way I could tape both pieces in place and run them through together. I do like to send my panels through twice to make sure they're really evenly done, and then peeling back that release to reveal the gorgeous foiling never gets old. I absolutely love how this one came out with the two colours, it's awesome. Now here is our Peruvian gold foil, which is a gorgeous matte finish and something that I think we've been missing for sure. It's really a different finish and colour than the other golds that we already had. So that's bright gold and glitter gold. Now the latter is a textured effect, which is different than anything else that we have. But to show the difference between Peruvian and standard gold, I'm going to foil this panel of pre-printed sentiments, which again come from my Sweet Sentiments foiler pack. So I'll do Peruvian gold on the top and regular gold on the bottom. You can already see before foiling that these are two totally different tones. And then once you peel away the release sheet, you'll see that Peruvian gold has a matte finish, whereas standard gold is very shiny. I love them both, and I think that both deserve a place in your crafty stash. I know they're going to have one in mine. Now, I have all of these sentiments foiled, and I want to quickly show you how I prep these and store them to use on future projects. So I trim them out with my mini trimmer. I love this one for these kind of teensy and fiddly jobs. I like to line up the sentiment on the clear guard, and that way I know that they're all trimmed evenly and straight. I store them in these little pots, which slot onto my pegboard, and then I always have them nearby. I actually keep some unfoiled too. So now let's make a card with one of the foiled backgrounds we just made. I'm cutting this striped one with an A2 layering die, using the second biggest one, and that's going to give me a really nice border when I add this to an A2 card base. I've got a smaller piece of cardstock here, and I'm going to heat emboss it in one of our new powders, Pastiche. So I'm adding our ultra slow drying embossing ink directly to the panel by squishing, twisting and swiping the ink pad. Then I'm pouring Pastiche all over it before heating from below so as not to blow any of the chunkier bits away before it melts. With these types of powders, you need to make sure you've mixed it well before pouring because they are going to settle. Now, in the past, I've always said to shake the jars. That's what I've always done. But recently, the owner suggested that we try rolling the jars instead, and I've got to admit, it works like an absolute charm. So I'd say do that now. Once it's mostly all melted, I like to bring the heat around to the front just to be sure that it's all completely done. Now, I'm repeating all of these steps to add a second layer, which is going to thicken it and maximise the texture from those chunky mica flakes. All of that heating and it is a little bit warped, but I'm adding some really strong adhesive foam tape to the back, and once it's attached to the panel, that's going to flatten it back out nicely. Okay, let's build up these layers now. The newly trimmed foiled panel goes on top of an A2 card base, and I'm sticking this straight down onto the centre. Now I've got a butterfly that I stamped, die cut and ink blended with coordinating stencils. If you want to see how I did this, I have got a video linked above on my own channel for your convenience. So I've added foam adhesive to the back of my butterfly too, and it's going to sit on top of that embossed panel. Now I'd just like to say at this point that this design was totally inspired by my very dear friend Jo Herbert. Once they're in place, I can add a sentiment strip, which is one of the Sweet Sentiments ones, I'm using foam adhesive again to pop it up just below my butterfly. Then I just added some gold pearl embellishments, positioning them in a triangular pattern around my butterfly and sentiment. And that's my card finished. I've still got loads more foiling left over, so be sure to keep your eye on both the WOW channel and my own to see how I go about using the other panels that I've foiled today. If you've got any burning questions about any of our products, techniques, or you need some help troubleshooting something, then be sure to drop them in the comments below, and I'll do my best to answer them in future episodes of my Back to Basics series. If you aren't already subscribed to the channel, then please consider hitting that button and use the bell to be notified whenever we post a new video tutorial. Don't forget to share this with any crafty friends that you think would be interested too. Have a lovely, happy, safe and wonderful week. Stay crafty. Bye.